I've talked about a lot of topics in the past. The radical left, jokes, objectivity, PC versus console, but today, I talk about maps. And no, silly, not the geographical maps. The ones that I'm deeply sexually attracted to. But maps as in pedophiles. Twitter has a lot of problems, and I mean a lot of problems. And unfortunately, pedophiles are one of those problems. I've talked about this problem before, about a year ago, but it's gotten severely worse since then. Now, I'm not going to pretend that pedophiles are accepted by the Twitter staff team. This is because I've seen pedophiles being suspended in droves, so I won't say that Twitter accepts them particularly. However, I will say that there is such an abundance of them that it doesn't really matter whether they accept them or not. They're just everywhere. They're on Twitter trying to start communities, they're trying to actively normalize and glorify sex with minors. This is unacceptable. This behavior is absolutely disgusting, and yet they don't seem to realize that. There are different types of maps. There are many pro-contact maps, and there are also many anti-contact maps. But let me make one thing clear. A pedophile is a pedophile, pro-contact or not. The only pedophiles I can tolerate are people who know that they have a problem and who know they are disgusting and are taking active measures to fix and or help themselves get better. But even no maps, aka no contact maps, will still sexualize children, they still fantasize about children, and they still get off to children. These pedos will actively support anywhere from the glorification of pedophilia to the support of lowering the age of consent to fit their sexual fantasies. And just in case anyone doesn't get the memo, the problem with diddling kids is their inherent inability to consent. Their brains aren't fully developed yet, they lack life experience, and when there are sexual relations between children and adults, it is severely scarring for the child, putting permanent scars in their mind. And adults selfishly putting children into a situation where they either can't refuse or are groomed to be accepting of it is abhorrent, disgusting, and quite frankly makes me think of these adults as subhuman. I want to make another specification. I've seen a lot of these quote-unquote maps claim they're as such when they're 15 or 14, like the map's age is 15 or 14, but they're attracted to people like 1 year below them. I'm going out to these people. You are not a pedophile. Stop relating yourself and aligning yourself with these selfish freaks of nature. However, going back to the topic of adults, children do not have the social or emotional intelligence to properly quantify the gravity of a sexual encounter. And all that said, the overwhelming amount of maps that I've seen on Twitter are adults anywhere from the mid-20s to mid-30s. Some of these people aren't only disgusting, they're absolute mongoloids. This is an example of a disgusting mongoloid. The law isn't the only defining factor in determining if a child can consent or not. As stated earlier, their brain development, common outcomes, and their inability to grasp the full gravity of certain actions all play a role in determining if someone can consent or not. For example, a person that is sleeping or in a coma cannot consent even if they are an adult because they can't actually grasp what's going on and they have an inability to actually consent physically. But he is right. The law doesn't determine how mature you are, and not all people are the same. However, there are clear delineations between age groups and their comprehension skills. And maturity doesn't determine your competency to grasp certain issues. Maturity doesn't equal social and emotional intelligence. But unfortunately, I found another one of these absolute units of weaponized idiocy. Here you can see that they're saying that adults can't consent. They're obviously mocking the fact that we say kids can't consent. Taking sexual advantage of a cognitively impaired person or being attracted to them is already known in society to be weird or abhorrent. However, you equating you being attracted to a child with me being attracted to, let's say, an adult foreigner from another country who is attractive but also just happens to speak another language is appalling to me. There's a cognitive difference between children and adults. Them speaking another language does not lower their cognitive ability. Plus, this implies that people who speak another language are less mentally developed than people who speak your language based solely on the language they speak. Xenophobic much? This is just, quite honestly, a double whammy of retardation. And I want to be clear, I'm not expecting these people to agree with my arguments or even understand how they are competent. I'm arguing in this way to provide logical reasons to understand why children can't consent, instead of just giving the "they're young" as a factor. In other words, these arguments are to inform you, the viewer, instead of the pedophiles. Here's another damnable idiot. He makes the point that no one's brain is fully developed, and therefore it's okay to have sex with children. However, this person doesn't seem to understand that even if no one's brain was fully developed, that doesn't discredit the argument, because a child's brain is less developed than an adult's brain. If that were the case, and that was a logical argument, then 18-year-olds wouldn't be able to consent, because the issue is that a child's brain is less developed. Another thing, insinuating that children are idiots is ageism is extremely ignorant of the fact that children in reality don't have much life experience. Therefore, it is not ageism to say that children are not of proper intelligence to make decisions about their body in ways that is irreversible. As this problem continues to grow, the more children are at risk of being taken advantage of by pedophiles seeking to make contact with said children on this site. I ask of you only one thing. Report these pedophiles, please. Report them to Twitter whenever you spot one. I'll leave a link to the Twitter sexual exploitation or whatever thing in the description. Use that to your advantage. Do not give evil people a platform to spread their wickedness. Well, that's it. See ya.